Today, I'd like to introduce you to my Aunty Carol. Now, I call her Auntie. Well, no, that's not entirely true. Okay, let's rewind. Today, I'd like to introduce you to my Uncle Peter. Again, not technically my uncle, but we'll get to that. And remember his name, because it's important. When I was a little girl, Carol was like a second mum to me. I'm talking baths in her sink. Yes, this very sink. I used to fit in there. Charity shop mornings and Friday night teas where I would watch reruns of Courage the Cowardly Dog. But back then, having the brain of a child, some things never change, I was never entirely sure what to call Carol. All I knew is that she was like another mum, and her and Peter came as a pair. So I settled on the name Mummy Peter. Technically, Carol and Peter are my third cousins because Carol is my nan's cousin. Anyway, family tree aside, she was always known to me as Mummy Peter. And the pair have lived in this very same house since 1972 and have carved a charming life together. Have you ever heard of the book Ethel and Ernest by Raymond Briggs? A story that, at its heart, is simple, as it follows the life of Raymond's parents, meeting, courting, building a life, and growing old together. When I first read this book, I was captivated, not least by the stunning illustrations that depicted a home that had all the best parts of mid-century decor that I love, with its coziness and austerity, but also by the unity of Ethel and Ernest as a pair. Like life, not every part of the book was happy. Some parts were actually strikingly tragic, but the overall nostalgia emanated through, and the companionship that the two protagonists shared. For once, this wasn't a book about a child stumbling upon a magical land, teenagers coming together to bring down a monstrous foe, or 20-somethings having a hair-raising adventure. It was about ordinary people living ordinary lives, with all the trials and tribulations, celebrations, and quiet moments. And when I pop round to Mummy Peter and Peter's for tea, I see that here. No, their home doesn't look like a place transported from the past, but like the world of Ethel and Ernest, it is a time capsule of their life together. From the cheerful jumble of teapots on the shelf to a garden that somehow always looks both carefully tended and charmingly wild. It's not grand, but it's theirs, every corner holding some memory, a tiny piece of love. Along the way, they've shared their home with a parade of furry companions, but these days they live with the cats Shadow and Murphy. This one's Murphy. Shadow's the adventurous type, so he's out exploring the world, but don't worry, he'll be back later and likely whining for food. But the real star of the show? Their 65-year-old tortoise, Bert, who actually might be even older than that. And the story of how Bert came into their lives, I think, is really swell, so I'm going to share it with you. Basically, a 90-year-old lady that Carol met at her local Knit and Natter said she was looking for a new home for him, and Carol and Pete, already owning another tortoise, affectionately known as Big Bert, who sadly died, were the perfect new owners. And that lady in her 90s? Well, she had originally bought Bert for her children. So honestly, who knows how old he might actually be. I have to say though, whatever his age, it certainly doesn't stop him tearing around the garden to follow me or inspecting my shoes. Oh. And as far as the cats go, don't fret. Bert is very much the boss. I suppose they're just respecting their elders. Spending a day here feels like stepping into a softer time. Mornings that start with the smell of toast and the gentle rumble of the kettle. Peter tinkering in his shed while Carol knits. Did I mention that he's a whiz at woodwork and he actually made this very clock? And I have the same design at home. There's chatter about neighbours, often they pop in, and talk of which charity shop is worth a visit today. They have mastered the art of quiet domestic rhythm. And to be honest, it's a stark reminder for me that you don't necessarily need a traditionally styled or particularly vintage home to do the same. Nor do you need a view of rolling hills outside your window. A radio playing softly in the kitchen or a cat stretching in a patch of sun will still give that same slow-living, intentional feel. I've come to realise, watching them, that although I have my tastes, you don't actually need a certain type of home to make the ordinary feel magical. The kind of ordinary that makes life feel full. And they prove that perfectly. And when I look at them, I like to think, or perhaps hope, that I'm getting a glimpse of mine and Jack's future. One of separate passions, shared furry companions, and togetherness, which isn't always found in a romantic partnership, but any kind of companionship, if you can stand to stick it out with them for long enough. Being here with them also feels a bit like getting a second chance at something I truly miss. That warm, safe, grandparent kind of love. A love that isn't loud or dramatic, but is stitched into the everyday. In the ever-abundant biscuit barrel, the fussing over your coat in winter, the gentle, let me make you a cup of tea, that actually means you're loved here. And boy, do I feel it. So, thank you, Mummy Peter and Peter, my own little Ethel and Ernest, for giving me that and reminding me that although my family has felt a lot smaller in recent months, it's still very much there for chit-chats in the hot afternoon. Which is exactly what Mummy Peter and I will be doing this Wednesday in a very special video that marks an incredibly poignant part of history that holds its anniversary this week. But more than that, I learn about an untold story within my own family that I can't quite believe is true. Hot drinks and the bicky tin at the ready, and I'll see you there.